Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into a question that's, well, it feels both ancient and incredibly relevant right now.
Hmm.
What does it mean to be human? When the lines between us and all this technology are getting so blurry.
It's a question philosophers have been wrestling with forever, but yeah, it's definitely taking on a whole new urgency. I mean, look around. This tech is everywhere.
Exactly. And that's why we've got this really fascinating mix of sources for this deep dive. We're looking at, well, we've got philosophical articles, we've got real-world examples, stuff like Neuralink, even, the whole AI influencer thing.
Yeah, and what's so interesting is this isn't just theoretical anymore. I mean, this is real life. These technologies are becoming part of our daily lives, like it's happening now.
So we kind of have to confront this, don't we?
Absolutely, we do.
Okay, so let's start with something familiar. Tools, right? I mean,
Yeah.
humans have been using tools since, well, forever, but it does feel different now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. It's not just a hammer and a wheel anymore.
Yeah.
We've gone way beyond that. It feels like, I don't know, an extension of ourselves almost.
Exactly. Think about your smartphone. I mean, is it really just a tool, or is it like part of your mind now? It holds your memories, helps you think, helps you get around. It's kind of crazy when you think about it.
It really is. And this ties into a concept called embodied cognition.
Hmm.
It's this idea that, well, basically our minds aren't just in our brains, they're connected to our bodies and, the things we use.
So it's not just about what the tool lets you do, but how it actually changes how you think.
Exactly.
Wild.
And there's actually research on this. Like, there are studies that show that using GPS, like a lot, can actually change how our brains form spatial memories.
Wait, really? So using GPS is actually changing our brains, like physically changing them?
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. There's this one study with London taxi drivers.
Oh, yeah, they have to memorize the whole city, right?
Exactly. So they're known for having amazing spatial memory. And, well, they actually found that London taxi drivers had larger hippocampi.
Hmm.
That's the part of the brain that's really important for spatial memory.
Okay.
And get this, when GPS became common, the newer taxi drivers, they didn't develop that same hippocampal enlargement.
So, like, their brains didn't adapt in the same way because they were relying on GPS?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's a clear sign that, relying on technology, it can change our cognitive abilities,
Mm-hmm.
even at a neurological level.
Wow. I mean, that's a little, well, honestly, it's a little unnerving, isn't it? I mean, it makes you wonder about the long-term effects of all this tech we use.
It really does. I mean, which cognitive skills are we outsourcing to our devices? What are we losing?
Right, exactly.
But let's take this even further, okay?
Yeah.
We've been talking about tools that influence our minds.
Yeah.
But what about technologies that, like, are actually integrated into our bodies and minds?
Oh, right. Like cochlear implants, so deaf people can hear, or, brain-computer interface.
Exactly. Things like that. BCIs. They allow people who are paralyzed to, like, control robotic limbs with their thoughts. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah. But it really blurs the line, doesn't it? I mean, what does it even mean to be human at that point?
It's a huge question.
Yeah.
And it's both exhilarating and, kind of ethically complex. We're being forced to rethink the whole definition of being human.
We are.
And then there's this whole extended mind theory.
Oh, yeah, that one's a real head-scratcher.
Yeah. But it seems really central to all of this.
It does. So what is it exactly? Like, how does the mind extend?
Well, the basic idea is that our minds, they don't just stop at our skulls. Like, they can actually extend into the tools and technologies that we're using.
Okay, so, like, my smartphone is part of my mind because I rely on it so much.
Well, it's not saying your phone is conscious or anything.
Right.
But it does challenge this, I don't know, this traditional idea of where the mind ends and the world begins. It's all connected.
Okay, I see. So where does that leave us when we think about something like Neuralink? I mean, Elon Musk says it's going to, like, revolutionize how we interact with tech, but I don't know. It's a little scary too, right?
Yeah, it's a prime example of how these lines are getting blurry.
They really are.
A brain chip that lets you control computers with your mind.
Mhm.
I mean, it's fascinating,
It is.
but it's potentially terrifying at the same time.
It is.
And what about the potential for misuse?
Mm.
Who has access to all that data?
Exactly. I mean, it could be amazing for people with disabilities.
Right.
But what about privacy? What about hacking? Could someone control your mind?
And it's not just Neuralink. Think about virtual influencers.
Oh, yeah. Those AI personalities with, like, millions of followers online.
Yeah, they look human, sound human.
It's crazy.
They interact with fans, endorse products, but they're entirely digital. What does that even mean for, like, authenticity? for our sense of identity.
Yeah, what does it even mean to, like, connect with a virtual influencer? It's weird, but it's happening.
It is weird. It's like this reflection of our digital world.
Yeah.
Technology blurring the lines between real and, virtual,
Yeah.
human and artificial.
Totally. And it kind of brings us right back to that core question of this whole deep dive, doesn't it? What does it mean to be human when all these distinctions are becoming, like, so ambiguous?
Exactly. It's not an easy question to answer.
Not at all. I mean, it feels like we're on the verge of something, like, massive, something transformative. And honestly, it's a little exciting, but it's also a little bit scary, you know?
I know what you mean.
So, like, where do we even begin to unpack all of this? It feels like we've really jumped into the deep end of philosophy here.
We have.
I mean, we're talking about what it means to be human, like the very essence of it.
It's a question that's been central to philosophy, well, forever, really. The mind-body problem.
Hmm.
How do our physical selves relate to our conscious experiences?
Right.
It's a puzzle that thinkers have been grappling with for ages, but now technology is like adding a whole new dimension.
It really is. So if we're integrating tech into our bodies, into our minds, does that actually change who we are? Like fundamental.
That's the question, isn't it? Is our identity just about our biology, our DNA? Or is it something, I don't know, more fluid, something that tech could maybe change? Or even, like, transfer?
Hold on, this is giving me, like, serious Ship of Theseus vibes.
Yes.
You know that thought experiment? If you replace all the parts of a ship over time, is it still the same ship?
A classic philosophical dilemma. And yeah, it's a perfect analogy for what we're talking about. If we start replacing parts of ourselves, enhancing our brains with technology, what happens to our sense of self?
Okay, but I need a little help with the Ship of Theseus thing. Like, how does that actually relate to our identity?
Well, think about it. The Ship of Theseus paradox, it makes us question, like, what makes a thing that thing? Its identity. Is it just the parts? Or is there something more, some essence? Even when the physical stuff changes.
Okay.
So now, apply that to a human being. We gradually replace organs, augment our brains, maybe even upload our consciousness. Is it still the same person?
Oh, okay, yeah, I see where you're going with this. It really challenges how we think about what makes us, doesn't it?
It does. Is it our body,
Yeah,
memories,
yeah.
consciousness, or, some combination of all of it?
Exactly.
We're having to rethink the whole idea of identity, this continuity of self, in a world where human and machine are blurring. And this has implications not just for who we are, but for our agency too.
Our agents.
Yeah, our ability to, make choices, act freely.
Oh, right. We talked earlier about how algorithms are kind of shaping our decisions.
Exactly. What we buy, what news we read.
Like we're outsourcing our decision-making to tech.
And as AI gets more sophisticated, it's probably just going to accelerate.
Yeah.
So the question is, if our choices are being influenced or even dictated by algorithms, are we really autonomous? Are we in control?
It's almost like we're becoming, I don't know, like puppets,
Yeah.
with code pulling the strings.
It's a valid concern.
I mean, think about the manipulation. If these algorithms can figure out how to, like, push our buttons, predict our behavior, could they control us?
It's possible.
Yeah.
We've already seen how algorithms can be used to spread misinformation, right?
Yeah.
Manipulate public opinion.
Yeah.
So imagine that targeted at individuals.
That's, yeah. That's a little creepy.
A good chilling. But let's not get too dystopian here. Algorithms can be used for good, too.
Right. Oh, right. Of course.
They're powerful tools. They can solve problems, make things more efficient, even enhance our creativity.
So it's not all bad.
Not at all. But like any powerful tool, it needs to be used responsibly, ethically.
Okay, so how do we ensure that? Like, how do we navigate this world where algorithms are, like, so influential?
Awareness, I think, is key.
Okay.
We need to understand how these algorithms work, what data they use, how they're shaping our choices. We can't just trust the technology blindly.
We need to be, like, critical thinkers, ask questions, demand transparency.
It's exactly. From the companies, the institutions that are building these systems. And we need to be talking about the ethical implications of all this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we want algorithms that just prioritize profit? Or do we want algorithms that are designed with human values in mind? Fairness, transparency, accountability.
Those are some pretty big questions. And honestly, it's a bit overwhelming. It feels like we're on this runaway train of technology, and we don't even know where it's going.
I understand that feeling. But remember, we're not powerless. We have agency. Individually and collectively, we can shape the future of tech.
Okay, so what can we do? How do we like take back control, make sure tech serves humanity, not the other way around? Right. Let's try to get a little more practical here. You're saying we're not powerless, but it's I don't know, it's easy to feel that way when we're talking about such big complex stuff. Like where do we even begin?
Well, I think it helps to, kind of zoom out for a second. Look at the bigger picture. We've been talking about some pretty big changes. So it's worth, like, thinking about what kind of future this could all lead to. What are the possibilities?
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about those potential futures. I'm ready for some wild possibilities. What are people imagining?
Well, one movement that's gaining a lot of traction is, it's called transhumanism.
Transhumanism, that sounds like, I don't know, something out of a sci-fi movie.
It might sound futuristic, but the basic idea is, well, it's pretty simple, actually.
Okay.
Transhumanists, they believe that we can use technology to overcome our limitations, like the limitations of our current human form.
So like our physical bodies.
Yeah, exactly. They see aging, disease, even, cognitive limitations as problems to be solved, not just inevitable facts of life.
So we're talking like radical life extension, super intelligence, maybe even like uploading our consciousness into computers. Am I getting close?
You got it.
Yeah.
They envision a future where, well, where we've basically transcended our biology. We could achieve incredible things, things we can only dream of today.
Okay, I have to admit, part of me finds that really exciting. Like, imagine no disease. We could explore the universe, live for centuries. Imagine the knowledge we could gain.
It's a very compelling vision, and it's easy to, get caught up in all the possibilities. But like with any powerful idea, you have to, look at it from all sides. What about the downsides?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. It almost sounds too good to be true. So, what are people worried about?
Well, one big concern is equity.
Okay.
If these technologies are expensive, only available to a select few, it could create a society that's even more divided than we have now.
Oh, right. Like a wealthy, enhanced elite,
Yeah.
and then everyone else is just ordinary.
Exactly.
Mm.
And that could lead to some serious social unrest or even, a new form of eugenics.
Yeah.
And even if everyone could access these technologies, what about misuse, coercion?
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that. Like governments or corporations using these technologies to control people.
It's a valid concern. Imagine them controlling people's thoughts, their emotions.
Yeah. The potential for manipulation is, I mean, it's huge.
Enormous. It's kind of like opening Pandora's box.
Oh.
Once we start messing with the very essence of what it means to be human, who knows where it'll lead?
It's like we're playing God and we have no idea what we're doing.
Maybe. I think the takeaway here is we need to approach all this with a lot of caution, a lot of humility.
Hmm.
We need to talk about the risks, the benefits, and we have to make sure these technologies, they benefit all of humanity, not just a select few.
Right, right. Okay, so transhumanism is one possible future. What else are people thinking about? What other scenarios?
Well, another fascinating area is AI, artificial intelligence. We talked a bit about the potential for AI to, become more intelligent than humans.
Mm. Oh, yeah, the singularity. Now we're really getting into sci-fi territory. But I have to admit, I'm kind of fascinated by it. So what exactly is the singularity?
Well, it's a hypothetical point in time when AI gets so smart that it surpasses us in, well, basically every way. And from that point on, technological progress would just like explode. It would be driven by the AI itself.
Whoa. So what would that world look like?
That's the thing. It's really hard to predict. I mean, it would be unlike anything we've ever experienced. It's like trying to imagine a new color that's never been seen before.
Yeah, okay, I get it. It's hard to even wrap my head around, but it makes sense why people are so fascinated by it. It raises these really big questions about, like, the future of humanity, our place in the universe.
It does. And it brings us back to that core idea we've been talking about, this blurring of the lines between human and machine. As AI keeps evolving, we might find ourselves, I don't know, coexisting with intelligent machines, maybe even merging with them. It's pretty mind-blowing.
Okay, I need a minute to process all this. Transhumanism, the singularity, AI becoming more powerful, it feels like something massive is happening, like a turning point in history.
I think you're right. We're living through a time of, like, unprecedented technological change. It's exciting, but yeah, a little scary too. And the choices we make now, they're going to have a big impact on the future for all of us.
So what do we do? How do we navigate all this? Make sure we're making good choices, choices that lead to a good future.
Well, I think the most important thing is to be curious, open-minded.
Okay.
We have to be willing to challenge our assumptions, embrace new ideas, and, be ready to adapt. Because the world is changing fast.
So we need to be lifelong learners, always learning, always growing.
Exactly. And we need to remember that we're all in this together. These aren't
Yeah.
just technological challenges, they're human challenges. We need to collaborate, empathize, and, really care about the well-being of everyone.
We have to come together as a species, face this unknown future with courage, wisdom, and a sense of purpose. Wow, this deep dive has been, I don't know, it's been a lot. But honestly, I have more questions now than I did before we started.
That's a good thing. The best questions are usually the ones that don't have easy answers. This is a journey, and the most exciting discoveries are still ahead of us.
Well said. Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one last thought. Technology is blurring the lines between human and machine, right? And that makes the question of what it means to be human, well, it makes it even more important, even more profound. So we ask you, dear listeners, what will your contribution be to the story of humanity? The future is waiting to be written, and we're all authors of this grand narrative.